Greetings from Costa Rica. This is Costa Rica Matt broadcasting live from Playa Guanacaste tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. We have some of our technical glitches worked out from the last 3 broadcasts. It turns out I had this tiny little option in YouTube picked that was letting my videos start before I wanted them. Tonight, our topic for our live Wednesday night hump day chat with Costa Rica Matt is again returning with digital nomads here in Costa Rica, and primarily an interview that we have with 4 digital nomads who are living in Playa Tamarindo. 2 of them own a rental property and have been here for 2 years, and 2 of those digital nomads have just recently moved down, decided to try their careers from Costa Rica. They joined us to provide their insight about how it's going living here after about 3 months, and they shared some wonderful thoughts that I would have never really put together myself, especially about the change in quality of life that they've seen moving from Chicago down to Costa Rica, and some other aspects of their transition that I don't necessarily consider because I'm only obsessed with my family, real estate, Playa Junquillal, and a very few limited other topics. So soon we will get to our interview with 4 digital nomads living in Playa Tamarindo about their experience. We also have some other truly exciting segments tonight. First of all, I'll go over a brief news update from Costa Rica to give you a quick overview of some important stories developing for foreigners. Next, I'm going to talk about a new listing, and this will get interesting because in the new listing presentation, I have perhaps the worst accident that I've had as an adult human being probably in about a decade. I had this wonderful idea that it would be great to show how far a new house that I'm listing is from the beach if you're at a real sprint trying to get down to the ocean. Well, the sprint doesn't go well. I end up in a heap. And if you stay tuned, you'll get to see Costa Rica Matt flopping around on video as he tries to make a funny joke about real estate in general. So don't miss that. And then obviously, we'll be having our interview with Tim Ellis, the digital nomads living in Playa Tamarindo. Once again, we're here every Wednesday night live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Costa Rica time, different times in other time zones with our Costa Rica chats here with Costa Rica Matt. Again, my name is Matt Rosensteel, owner-broker of Latitude 10 Realty in Costa Rica. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's get some shout-outs going in the comments as well as your questions. Thanks for joining us and stay tuned. Greetings again from Costa Rica. Matt Rosensteel tonight with our live Wednesday night Costa Rica chat with Costa Rica Matt. We're talking about primarily digital nomads, but we're going to cover some other things as well. If you haven't subscribed to my channel at this juncture, you should definitely click that little red button or figure out how to subscribe on a YouTube TV because I provide constant, steady stream of boring yet relevant info for anybody interested in moving to Costa Rica. Do be sure to subscribe to my channel because it'll make me feel incrementally more valuable as a human being. Let's get right in tonight with some quick Costa Rica news updates. And obviously, I'm not going to cover everything. I want to talk about a couple topics that are very important to foreigners. And first of all, perhaps one of the most important topics, either to foreigners, Costa Ricans, anybody, the Costa Rican government is advancing with its project to legalize medical marijuana. We have first approval in Costa Rica's Congress on a medical marijuana bill that's actually being championed by an agronomist, very much looking at the production of cannabis, hemp, etc. as economically valuable. Again, this is a legislation that is for medical marijuana. And to clarify for anybody who might be interested out there or have wondered about this before, Costa Rica has an interesting situation when it comes to whether or not marijuana or any other drugs are truly criminal or illegal. Their law essentially states that the sale of, distribution, modification, transformation, anything that you do with illegal substances, either earning money for them or promoting their use, is clearly criminal. There's no question about that. And in fact, it's not necessarily limited to X or Y list of substances, but rather it is blanket. If you are caught selling one of, a controlled substance, then you're in trouble. What they do not have is a clear criminal law that says you can get thrown in jail or fined or whatever for possession or consumption. And in fact, it's come up a lot of times where people, they need to know, very importantly, if you get caught with a ton of any kind of drug in Costa Rica and it's bundled into individual bags and it very much looks like you're going to sell it, you're going to have a problem with the law. If you get caught smoking a joint out behind a restaurant late at night, it would be a very tough stretch of the imagination to see how you could possibly be arrested. So really, Costa Rica's always had this, not necessarily criminal law regarding drug use and consumption. It's always been criminal to distribute, sell it, etc. Now they're working on legalizing production, cannabis and hemp, especially for medical purposes. And obviously in Costa Rica, whether you think tourism is the top income generator, etc., it's still largely an agricultural economy. So them advancing cannabis as possibly a legal production enterprise does very much focus on trying to provide new streams of income for producers. Obviously, a few Tamarindo tourists are going to enjoy themselves a bit more. I would imagine that it will play positively with a lot of tourists who want to come to Costa Rica. And as they approach full legalization or whatever the government takes or whatever strategy they take with marijuana and other controlled substances, it seems like yet another example of where the Costa Rica government is following the lead from other international countries around the world, and sort of taking their ideas and sort of deciding that things are okay now. Speaking of the Costa Rica national government taking the lead from other national governments, the biggest single news item for foreigners thinking about Costa Rica over the past couple of weeks was that the president has announced that on December 1st, the Costa Rica government plans to have everybody show proof of COVID-19 vaccination in order to enter most commercial establishments, restaurants, pretty much the public places where you would want to go if you're a tourist in Costa Rica. So we could discuss the nuances and go on and on about, the fact that it's not a mandate versus a mandate, but it's a very strong gesture by the Costa Rica government announcing this, that as of December 1st, they would take this measure. And of course, it provoked an enormous backlash. I wasn't aware, but it turns out that vaccines are actually kind of a hot topic right now, and some people are pretty passionate about it. That was a bit of sarcasm if anybody else had caught up on that. And with this mandate that the Costa Rica government issued, a lot of people flipped out. What I want to say to anybody watching tonight who might not have been watching when I discussed this earlier in the week was that, first of all, let's remember that this was a presidential edict made earlier this week. In Costa Rica, the difference between presidential edicts and actual legislation that gets enforced by the police couldn't be broader. You hear, last year or 2 years ago, we had corporate filings that were announced that everybody in the country was going to have to do for their legal entity. It turned out that none of that, or rather, the implementation of that law got delayed over and over and over again as the Costa Rica government grappled with the difficulty of actually implementing what they've said they want to do. We have this edict. As of even today, the National Chamber of Tourism has said, will you please postpone this implementation until after our coming tourism high season? I don't have a crystal ball and don't pretend to, but I can be certain that there will be more voices out there protesting this measure, and you're going to see a significant backlash. You will see the government respond, and their response might include either delaying the measure, changing it altogether, or it might include completely backtracking on things because crazier things have happened in Costa Rica. To go over quickly, I wanted to mention there were some details about how this mandate came out and the actual logistics. If you're a foreigner interested in visiting Costa Rica and that vaccine mandate worried you, essentially what you're going to be doing is presenting the same QR code that you have to fill out in order to enter the country. And this health pass is what you'll now use for a broader range of businesses. Currently, you use it to get into Costa Rica. When you fill out your health pass, it will ask whether or not you've been vaccinated. And if you say you have, it will ask for proof. So currently, if you're vacationing in Costa Rica, you have to have this all ready when you're coming through customs. Your customs agent, in addition to looking at your passport, also checks your QR code to make sure you've got that ready. So essentially, you'll still do that same process, and you will take your QR code then to local businesses. Finally, on that note, the reason I don't think a lot of people should immediately feel like we're dealing with an absolute ironclad, 100% mandate is that this implementation and the enforcement of the rule is going to fall to private business owners in the end. Costa Rica has so few police and health inspectors on and on to begin with. You're going to see places where restaurants support this mandate, where they feel strongly that everyone should be vaccinated. They might request the code and they'll actually check it. And I bet you're going to see a lot of businesses who don't feel that strongly, who are not necessarily checking the QR code of everyone who walks in their door. So for many reasons, no one should panic just right now. Let's see what happens as things evolve. It was a mandate to implement this vaccine requirement as of December 1st again. So we still have a month and 10 days before they were even projecting to implement it. And so the vaccine mandate in Costa Rica, yes, it is strong. And if you are passionate about the topic, it's a big deal, but it will be changed. There are going to be definite modifications, and you're going to see a natural process here in Costa Rica where different democratic forces vie with each other to come up with the right policy. Finally, I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah. One of the other positive news items I wanted to check in with, Daniel had forwarded this to me just before we got started. Costa Rica has been confirmed as having the highest percentage of renewable energy as part of their mix among every country in the world. Truly, and again, I've mentioned renewable energy here, and I'm not necessarily willing to say that dams blocking rivers are pristine, sustainable, renewable energy. But in the world context, Costa Rica is maybe the only country operating on 100% hydro, geothermal, wind, and solar power, and maybe a mix of other strange renewable sources I don't know yet. But those four sources make up 99.99% of the energy that is used here in Costa Rica. The government occasionally turns on a diesel system that's the backup, which is why they can't truly say it's always 100% renewables. It's just that fraction where they need to run the tests on the system and use diesel to be able to make sure that it's still working. Thanks again for joining us tonight. Again, my name is Costa Rica Matt Rosensteel. Our main topic is digital nomads, and we're about to get to an interview with 4 people who've moved to Costa Rica specifically to live that lifestyle. Before we get there, I wanted to announce a brand new listing, and perhaps one of the most painful ways that any realtor on earth has ever announced a new listing. Today, I was down at this home, which, by the way, is a 2-bedroom main home with a 1-bedroom apartment. It's got a pool. It's a nice 1/4-acre property located extremely close to the beach. And I'll just have Daniel, if you want to, throw up some pictures from around the property so that people can see. The owner's asking $249,000. Again, it's essentially a 3-bedroom property. Beautiful gardens, 1/4 acre of totally titled land. And it's got this nice pool where you've got sort of a perfect oasis. The most important thing about the property to me is the fact that it is only a few hundred yards, maybe 400 yards from the beach. And so I thought, well, I want to show people just how close this house is. And usually you hear realtors use all kinds of phrases like, it's a quick stroll down to the beach, or it's just a 3-minute walk or a 10-minute walk, this, that, and the other. Here you can see the pictures of the house. It's got this beautiful, rustic aesthetic, and we'll call it quits there on the pictures, Danielle. So anyhow, realtors normally talk about how quick a walk it is to the beach. I wanted to start examining how far it would be if you were just sprinting to the beach. And my first experiment with this concept went horribly wrong. I had prepared the entire pathway down to the beach as best I could. And there's a private access path that you use to get from this house down to the water that has gates on both sides. I opened those up, and the second gate was it wasn't easy to prop all the way open. It only opened maybe 60 degrees or something like that, just sort of a narrow opening. And I try and just shoot that gap in this video. And let's just say I don't make it. And you're going to see the results here as to what happened. I was intending to edit this video and stabilize the footage and maybe take out some of the audio of me gasping. But anyway, here's what we have. Enjoy it, and let's see if everyone can find the humor in this like I did. Greetings from Costa Rica. I'm happy to announce a new exclusive listing today. I'm here at a very charming 2-bedroom home with a 1-bedroom apartment behind me and a pool here in Playa Tamarindo. Man, it's a hot day. I'm going to step into the shade here. The home is configured with this 2-bedroom main bungalow behind me, and like I mentioned, a workspace. There's a workshop and apartment in the other building. And one of the critical things about this home and its value is the location, which is utterly prime. We are only a few hundred yards from the beach, and there is a private beach access trail that connects this pod of properties down to the water extremely directly. Everybody's always talking about their listing. It's just a short stroll away from the beach, or, a quick walk down to the ocean. My curiosity, and to mix things up a little bit here on Costa Rica Matt, is how long does it take to get to the beach from this house at an absolute sprint, or the best sprint that I can do while holding a camera? And so we're gonna find out. Hopefully we can stabilize the video a little bit afterwards. But if you're interested in this listing, there's an asking price of $249,000 as of October 2021. And like I said, it's extremely close to the beach. Here we go. I'm sorry, I have to turn up the volume at that point. The gasping is too embarrassing. And there we have it, folks. That video was only 3 minutes and 30 seconds long. It included a massive fall where I hit the door and literally just tumbled over on my side. And honestly, I'm embarrassed to say that this house is really extremely close to the beach. It's less than 400 yards. Personally, having not sprinted anywhere for the last 5-10 years, I was quickly realizing that even just sprinting 400 yards is pretty tough to do. And by the end there, I was basically jogging and just trying to make it to the beach so that people could see it. If we had walked that distance, it was 1:30 with me scrambling down there. Let's talk about a 3 to 5 minute walk to the beach from that property. It's a $249,000 3-bedroom home with pool. Again, on 1,000 square meters here in Playa Junquial. It's my newest exclusive listing. Travel Bros joined us a little bit late in our broadcast. That was me sprinting from my newest exclusive listing down to the beach as fast as I possibly could with a huge tumble in the way. If you want to know more about that property, do send me an email. My address is matt@lat10realty.com. I'll have the listing published very soon on our Costa Rica real estate website, www.lat10realty.com. You can check that out with a lot of other close to the beach properties that here in Junquial are pretty darn affordable, even though they have that great location. New listing done. Let's move on to our main event tonight, talking to digital nomads living in Costa Rica. The interview I'm about to share with you, I really enjoyed because we were joined not only by Tim and Analu, who bought a house from me, I think in September of 2019. We're joined by 2 of the guests at that house. Tim is a cloud systems engineer or cloud infrastructure engineer. He told me a title a couple times, but he's a computer guy. He depends on working not just, streaming and, trying to send emails. He needs great internet to work as a programmer online. He's also got guests at his place in Tamarindo. It's a 4-bedroom house, beautiful views, a nice pool. We got him a good price on it in 2019 before the market went crazy. He's living there and using it sort of as a campus for digital nomads or renting spaces long-term to digital nomads. 2 people who join me are from Chicago, Corey and Anya Ray. They're living here as sort of a trial period, whereas Tim and Analu took the plunge, bought a property, they want to come down, and this is now their remote work lifestyle. Corey and Anya Ray are very much giving it sort of a trial period. They're deciding whether or not they want to start their family here in the United States. They're enjoying life in Costa Rica and had some great insight as people who have recently moved and spent a few months. And some of the things that they brought up were aspects of living here in Costa Rica that really I don't think about too often, because at this point, I've been here for 13 years. I don't see things through those new lenses. And I'm definitely not a digital nomad working remotely. which is an ironic thing for someone to say, broadcasting live on YouTube to no one in the room. But I'm not a digital nomad. These folks are. In addition to that concept, there are also people who are moving to Costa Rica. They're in Tamarindo, right in the middle of town. So enjoy, please, my interview with digital nomads Tim Ellis, his wife Analu, and Corey and Anya Ray, digital nomads hanging out in Tamarindo and trying it out. By Tim Ellis, who purchased a property in Playa Tamarindo in September of 2019. Tim is one of the digital nomads. Ooh, and he's reaching for a lime La Croix, folks. He is drinking a truly classy beverage. Cheers to you, Tim. Thank you very much for joining me to talk about digital nomad life in Tamarindo and in Costa Rica. Tim was ahead of the curve. He purchased this property long before there was any talk of a digital nomad visa. He and his wife are applying for residency under the investment program, but they've acquired a place in Tamarindo from which Tim works remotely. He's living the digital nomad dream. He's been on my channel before talking a little bit about how life is. And my goal is to, first of all, provide more information to people who are now very serious about digital nomad transition to Costa Rica, about the internet connections available, Tim's experience there, not only himself as a digital nomad, but we might be joined by other digital nomads that are staying at Tim's place in Tamarindo.
Would you like to get a preview? One of the other digital nomads. She's a
yes. We could do some preview.
She teaches other authors how to write?
That's right.
Why don't you give them in your own words what you do?
Sure. So I'm Anya Ray, and I took a sabbatical from being a high school English teacher at a private school on Chicago's South Side to try out something totally different, something totally new. And so I'm currently in the founding stages of a writing community where we basically gather writers from all over the world. We have writers in India and Belgium and literally all over. And with accountability and community and lessons in mindset and crafts, they finish their books.
Holy cow. This is nonprofit work, for-profit work?
Definitely for profit, Matt.
Okay. No, but I mean, the work sounds incredible. How long have you been in Tamarindo as a digital nomad?
Since July 3rd of this year.
Okay. And are you actually going for your digital nomad visa and trying to stay, or are you just doing a perpetual tourism kind of thing?
For now, we're doing our perpetual tourism, just kind of see where the wind takes us. We've committed to 12 moons in Costa Rica. So if we decide to extend it, so be it.
Yeah. Just slightly under a full year then I assume it's not some weird Chinese lunar calendar that goes more than a year. And thank you very much for joining us. We're joined by...
This is Cody.
Yes.
Cody is related to Anya by choice.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And
Anya and I are married. My name's Cody Ray. I'm also a software engineer, and I am a real estate investor back in Chicago as well.
Okay.
Yes, so we are both cloud infrastructure engineers. We're working at the same company.
Absolutely. No, well, incredible. Thanks for joining us. Especially having, Tim has been on my channel before, and we got to talk to him a little bit. He has a personality that I think was absolutely just ready for Costa Rica. Oh, and Analu, how you doing, Analu?
So Analu is my wife. She's also
Related by
I'm also
choice.
digital nomad.
Yeah.
She's not quite a digital nomad, but
She
she's
takes
actually
care of the digital nomad.
She's a nomad.
yeah.
She's a physical
I'm a
nomad.
nomad.
Yeah.
Hi,
Well,
everyone.
absolutely. To give viewers an idea of what we're looking at, Tim and Analu have a 4-bedroom place in Tamarindo with an ocean view. Honolulu, when the home was purchased, it was definitely not anywhere near her standard of cleanliness and really livability. And I've never seen somebody purchase a property and then end up scrubbing from head to toe just as much as you did personally. The home was transformed. I mean, in that first few months, it went from tired and just, a place that had been rented, etc., to really a pristine home. And every time you come to Honolulu's place, it is in, I don't think you tolerate dust, do you?
I do sweep.
She keeps it immaculate.
Occasionally. Yeah, so Tim and Honolulu have been managing their property as a B&B, a destination for digital nomads. They've had some guests. It's not necessarily their primary business. Tim is a cloud infrastructure engineer, which eventually I'm going to understand what that is. So is Cody Ray, and Anya Ray is also working online. So thanks very much for joining us. Sorry to Tim and Honolulu. I'm most interested to ask Cody and Anya, you've been here 3 months. How is, your general experience? You've been working online in Costa Rica. How are things going for you?
I'll let you start. This is your dream. You go.
Okay. It has been great if you come in with the right mindset. So that's kind of where I'll start out with. I had some friends come down who I think thought they were going to Europe instead of Central America, and were not expecting certain things especially during rainy season on the roads. But I came in kind of with my eyes open, mostly because I had talked to Tim repeatedly about it, and he said, no, Vegas prices, don't expect to pay a ton of difference. Just come in with your eyes open, know what you're coming. Way cheaper than you would if you lived on the beach and had equivalent property and lifestyle back in California, but still you're still living in a nice area, right? You still you still want to pay for the amenities of having walls around and a beautiful pool that I can watch all day long, and an 8-minute walk to the beach. So yeah, that's kind of my summary. My lifestyle is significantly better. I would drop from 70 to 80 hour work weeks to a more reasonable 50 to 60 now.
Yeah, we were undoubtedly, still are. I think once you're a workaholic, you kind of always have that tendency. But moving here, we kind of decided we can't do that in a place that's so beautiful. We refused. So we created a 52 days of adventure list, weeks of adventure that we have to check these things off while we're living in Costa Rica. Cody, starts his day off with a walk on the beach. And then, I'll join him sometimes, but he's found the local gym that he works out at. And it's so cool to see oh my God, he doesn't just work all the time. And for me, starting a business, I think there's a lot of pressure that there's that hustle and grind lifestyle, that I would definitely be feeling more in the States. It'd be kind of what, you're resting? How could you be resting? You're starting a business.
You got a business to run.
Somebody's making it ahead of you while you're
losing money right now.
Yeah.
You could be out there making more of it.
Exactly. And so here it's kind of well, shoot, the sun, that's what I wasn't expecting. The sun go down at 5:30.
Oh, yes. That one was not eyes wide open.
I'm very surprised by that. But that also means that at 4:45, I'm all right, I got to wrap this up so that we can go for a sunset walk and get my gelato at Cafe Doria, because it's the thing I do now.
No, I think it's incredible that you guys are very focused on this deliberate choice to have a better lifestyle. Mm-hmm. I don't know that many people are very deliberate in considering what they want to achieve and that they need to refocus on these goals. But the natural cycles here, I think, bring you into that, in that, I can't imagine working that many hours a week when the sun goes down at 5:30, because something about the ecosystem here beckons you to not just spend 12 or 15 hours a day working. And whether it's deliberate and people decide to do it beforehand or they get here, it's a huge benefit, and I'm glad that you're seeing it. Tim and Analu, you've been here now for close to 2 years, actually a little bit over 2 years. Do you see your routine sticking to those idealistic principles of, we want to be out there and doing these? How are you evolving with time in those goals?
Yeah, I may be a different story. I'm probably about the same here as I was in the U.S. I didn't really change much at all. I don't go to the beach. I was on your channel before and we talked about this a little bit. Like, yeah, I'm a 7-minute walk to the beach. I've gone to the beach 20, 30, maybe 40 times over 2 years. I've got hammocks out in the back. I've worked in them like once, and I've swam like 9 times in my pool. But I do love this town. Like there's this great Indian restaurant that just opened up called Masala down in Brasalito. We go there like every other weekend. So I don't know, like for me, it was a very different thing, a very different reason for coming here, but it's worked out great. I'm like, when I do go to the beach, I love it. I love watching the ocean, listening and, seeing the cool people. And yeah, it's great. So.
But for you, it's been, and that's what I think, that people should not necessarily expect to have some spiritual revolution and turn into if you're a person who really just wants to be at your house and in your space, I think that some people do desire and imagine that Costa Rica will bring a strong change for them. But others, before Anne Marie and I had kids, we were about the same number of times at the beach per year, probably less. We're from Indiana. We didn't really care about it. And we were much happier sitting on our porch, really in our property, without enjoying that aspect of Costa Rica. And so for many people, the chance to be somewhere where you can be an introvert and enjoy yourself in your space is kind of like all you need in the perfect professional space as well. Now tell me about, so Tim, you had covered this the last time you were here. Tell us about your internet setup, and then I'll ask everybody if it's been, the connection, the tech is working well enough here in Costa Rica, 8 minutes walk from the beach, to support you professionals.
Right. So yeah, the internet I'm using is this thing called CR Wi-Fi. I researched internet before I got here. That was the only thing that came up as being business grade internet. And it has not disappointed outside of just a few minor hiccups really early on, really. But yeah, the internet is very expensive. It's $250 a month, which is probably a lot if you're coming from anywhere. So,
yeah, $250 a month. What velocity are you talking about?
I think now it's like 12 megabit down and 6 up, which is also not what people would expect. So
this one is expensive not for the speed, it's expensive for the reliability.
Right. And so that's what I'm paying for. I'm paying for what we call an SLA. I also have, I believe it's Cabletica. Is it Cabletica? Yeah. I have the fiber optic internet that's here, and this is mainly what Cody and Anya use all the time.
It's fast.
It's very fast.
It's awesome.
But it'll go down occasionally.
So it does go down occasionally?
It's pretty rare. It's when we go out of power. But.
Yeah, okay. Right, so when the power goes out, which it does often, CR Wi-Fi has some really good UPSs on their systems, and so the internet keeps working for hours. Actually, my UPS dies first, and I lose my connectivity to their infrastructure. But Cabletica, they just go out when the power goes out. So they have to switch to use the same internet as I've got, and it's a little bit slower. So it's hard for 3 people to work on that one slow connection.
Yeah, have you tried either WeMax or in your neighborhood? I mean, you've got your Cabletica. Is there other are there other fiber optic options available?
I think so, but I'm not certain. I think
Great Americans use Telecable.
Telecable?
Yeah. So overall, has it? You said the power goes out often. how often are you seeing a hiccup in your internet connectivity to the degree that it, interrupts your business?
Oh, if I used Cabletica, I don't know. What would you say? Like
Not very
Once
often.
every
Once a month or
Once a
something?
month, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It lets me nap in that time.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
that
not
once a month. Yeah, the internet outages can be a big blessing in disguise for sure. So as people who use the beach more, Cody and Anya Ray, and especially adapting to Costa Rica lifestyle, tell us about your typical, Costa Rica experience. Do you have to tell us about your daily, routine and some of the things that you've been doing around town? Because, Tamarindo is probably not as large as the town you came from in California.
Well, in our case, it was from Chicago,
Yeah, it's
so
just Chicago.
definitely
Oh,
not.
sorry, Chicago, south side of Chicago. My apologies. So you've gone from a place with whirly ball, one of the greatest invented sports ever known to man. I don't know if you played whirly ball.
It's a sign.
Yeah.
She's really hoping when we go back for Christmas, she wants to have her birthday. Her birthday's in January. Her birthday doing whirly ball.
Yeah.
So yes,
yeah.
it's a sign, I guess.
I've been to a whirly ball birthday party, but long story short, you went from Chicago where you can play a game, and to explain to the public, whirly ball, you're riding bumper cars and basically playing that sport with a long angled thing that, what's it
Like
called?
lacrosse and bumper cars.
Is lacrosse and bumper cars
There you go.
at
And
a bar, which is the really good element because you need a lot of booze to sustain the injuries you're feeling while you're looking this way and throwing a ball over here, and someone crushes you from the other direction in their little cart.
No, but I think I know what you're saying, right? Where it's like you have like this entertainment, like you have movie theaters, you have bowling alleys, you have all these things that you can do, and then in a place like Tamarindo, it's like, yeah, you have the beach, you have a bowling alley, maybe two of them in San Jose, but like otherwise,
Yeah.
actually I saw
Is
that
there
in
a bowling
Tamarindo
alley?
Chit Chat. There's only two in San Jose,
I was
and
say,
you have to have an appointment. So it's very it's very different.
somebody asked me last night at your birthday party, is there a movie theater in Tamarindo? I'm like, I don't.
There is,
There is.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Wait a
out of
minute.
Chicago.
Yeah, it's
That's
close.
right.
Anyway,
It was
but I
Tim's
think
birthday
like,
party last night, and I wasn't invited.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not. Hey, maybe it got lost in Costa Rica's inefficient postal system, but I kind of doubt it. Now I'm really mad at you.
yeah, I think there were just some things that we like accepted before we moved here. It's like no one's gonna send us an email. We're not gonna send them an email.
That's a good one. Yeah.
We're apparently gonna go to sleep at 8 p.m. and wake up at 5:30 a.m. That's something that is new.
This has been great. It has
Yeah.
helped my sleeping schedule so much.
There's a bookstore in town where like you do. It's so cool. It's like you
Swap.
pay $4 for the first book, but then every book after.
Well, you return it and they give you 2 back, and it's a credit to the next book. It's great.
Yeah. So
This
it's
is
like a
Jaime
Wednesday-
Peligro.
It's what?
This is Jaime Peligro, I assume you're talking about.
The next
I
to
have
the
no
cafetico.
idea.
Yeah, next to
Yeah,
Cafetico.
exactly. So my
I just
official
thought-
sponsor for Wednesday night's episode can officially be Jaime Peligro's bookstore. This guy has operated there in Tamarindo for just years and years and years. I'm sure you've had the conversations with him where it's like, hey, I want
Oh,
fiction
This is
and this, that, and the other, and he picks
So it must
4
be
books. This is an amazing bookshop, and it's something that I don't think you can find in Jaco or any other place in Costa Rica. It's a person who will go down in the annals of Tamarindo as a very important figure.
That's quite the image, Matt.
No, yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, Jaime, he's provided a service, and especially going into this new era where people haven't seen a book in the last 20 years, for him to have a bookstore where people can sort of, I need something to read at the beach. It's awesome. So if you're in Tamarindo, go into his store, buy some cheap books, take them back at the end of your trip, and support his business. You should tip him, etc., because it's one of these landmark things that is great to have in a small beach town like Tamarindo.
We have to find
That's
this
awesome.
place because I think we're talking about two different. Because there's the Waves that's owned by a woman.
Allie.
Oh,
Allie.
jeez. There might have been a change of ownership because if it's next to Cafe Tico, I'm talking about Jaime Peligro.
okay.
Then it might be
It's
one of the
oh my God. So take back all that I said about institutionality. The bookstore's been there forever. Jaime
Cool.
used to run it. He's actually an American guy or a Canadian, but anyway. What other sorts of things, has there been anything that's really tough about adapting to Costa Rica?
There was a bird that knocked on our window every morning for a while.
That's tough.
That was pretty tough.
And then we researched it, and the average lifespan was like 8 years, and I was like, "That's it, we're moving out." But then it moved to their window, so we're cool with it.
Yeah, we took off the reflective screen.
Yeah, we had a reflective screen. He could see himself, so he would tap on the window. So we had to take that down, and now he doesn't tap on their window. They can sleep until 6 now.
Yeah, right.
And let me guess, is it a yellow-breasted bird with a black
It
band
sure
on the
is.
side of it?
Yeah.
It's a great kiskadee, and they're in mating season, and he's competing with the male that he
Himself.
sees.
Yeah.
We've got one on our car mirrors, and in fact, he comes every morning because he can see himself in this. Or any.
Yeah, if it were a regular knock, you could pretend it's rain or something,
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
like you can't predict it. Yeah.
Entirely understand.
Otherwise,
tell
I
us
guess we would have made it difficult.
Aside from the bird, what kinds of things have been surprising or difficult to adapt to?
I'm a homebody. I always have been. I've always been very involved with my nieces and nephews and kind of being around to help around with the family. And not being able to just like drive over to a hockey game is pretty hard. But I decided that taco nights are very healing for me. And so there was no taco seasoning at the carniceria. And it didn't matter, though, because there was a McCormick sales rep with his binder
Apparently.
right there. And he's like, "It's okay. What do you need?" So I like pawed through the binder and I was like, "That original taco seasoning, please." And then it was there the next week. So really changing Tamarindo and introducing taco nights. So when you see the taco seasoning, Anya Ray brought it to you.
Brought to you by.
Yeah, we're talking about those yellow packets that are like Hormel or something.
These are red.
They're like bright orange and they're
Orange.
McCormick. Yeah, I should give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
It's definitely McCormick.
But going back to what she was talking about, her family. That's one of the other things that comes up pretty regularly. Like right before our last trip home, she got a call from her sister-in-law who. Her brother was having a surprise birthday party, and her little niece was having a surprise birthday party on the same weekend.
We never have surprise birthday parties, ever.
But yeah, sweet 16 and
a 40th birthday.
And 40th birthday, yes. So it turns out we love Southwest, and Southwest now flies here. So she was able to get some pretty affordable tickets back to Chicago, which is another big Southwest hub.
Right.
And that's the history. I've lived here for 13 years now. When I first moved down, I was in a town that had the closest internet connection was about 30 minutes away in a bus fare away from me. We eventually got an internet connection at that elementary school. And sorry, my phone's ringing. I thought I put it on elevator mode, but
it's not bothering you.
Airplane mode. We eventually got an internet connection in that town. And here I am in 2021 sitting on fiber optic internet that, Costa Rica all the time got this better connectivity, both through flights, internet connections, on and on. And now it feels every day more and more like this playground where people can, come and enjoy this amazing natural beauty. But you're an hour away from an airport where how many flights per day? And in fact, I went to Chicago a ton in July. My sister's family is on the south side. it's an hour drive out to Liberia, and then you're into Atlanta, or I'm sorry, with Southwest, it's going through
Houston.
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 Mhm.
And it's a simple itinerary, very accessible. And every year you continue to see that it just becomes easier and easier to live here. I don't know, Tim and Analu, if you guys have seen now as 2-year veterans, is anything really changing over, since 2019 to here? Obviously, we've had a massive border closure, a huge change in international movement, et cetera. What kinds of things are you seeing in Costa Rica now based on your 24 months?
Yeah, like it's picking up. When I first got here, there was maybe two other people in town I would call tech people. And lately, I've been seeing a lot more. I'll just run into random people and talk to them, and they'll be like, "Yeah, I'm considering moving to Costa Rica." A lot of them are just coming through town, but then like Cody and Anya, and then there's a fellow named Juan who moved here from
Argentina.
San Jose, but also originally from Argentina. Another guy moved here from, I forget where, somewhere in Germany, and his girlfriend moved up here from San Jose. So yeah, there's like a lot of people moving into town that are kind of compatible with the geek mindset. So last night, maybe viewers, well, some of your viewers might get this, like he and one of the other guys were talking about WebAssembly and how do you set
This
up
was at the
websites.
birthday party, right? The one that I wasn't invited
was the
to
birthday
last
party.
night. Okay, just to make sure. Go ahead
Yeah.
with your story.
And so that's a very geek, very techie kind of topic to have. It's like when I was living in San Francisco, it was a very common conversation to hear. Not so much when I first got here, but more so lately. I'm talking to people. It's like, yeah, I do Jira integrations, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know what that is. Like, all right, we're having now.
And I'll just throw out things like Cassandra or C++, and they're like, oh, yeah, she gets it. And,
It's nice to see when technician means more than the person who acts your board.
Yes.
In retrospect, I'm glad I wasn't at this party.
You missed some really great pizza.
I would have
from
been
the-
like, hey, has anyone played some Brood War lately? Because, yeah, and to me, it's interesting to see because, for a long time, the expat community has been this weird mix of people who didn't necessarily fit in other countries and came to Costa Rica, and then they had to try and fit into both the professional environment, the economy here, and find a way to make a living. This new movement is, you can move down to Costa Rica without necessarily the mission to live here for more than 52 weeks. You can give it a try, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your life's mission to live at the beach. Tim likes it because of all an array of benefits that it provides besides the beach. And he's one of the few people you'll meet that are willing to admit, yeah, I live in Costa Rica, but to me, going down to the sand isn't absolutely important. And so there's, for many reasons, I think people are going to be attracted to this potential lifestyle, especially where you're legally employed in the US and making a pretty good salary there versus what's available here where, yeah, you might find work designing websites for businesses like mine and Cafe Tico and, the bar across the street. But, you've got an incredible opportunity where you can tap into the US market for, jobs and get to live here. One of the things that I wanted to touch on now, thinking about these people that are in town, do you think that the increase in digital nomads and people around Tamarindo has, much to do with the digital nomad visa that the government is offering? Or is it just that all of a sudden so many people are working abroad due to COVID-19? They might be living anywhere in the world.
Yeah, I don't think I know, but I suspect it is. I suspect the visa is just going to be something like icing on the cake. It's like they're traveling the world to see where else they might live and work, and they try here and they're like, okay, yeah, maybe this will work out. And then, oh, wow, I can get a visa too. And we've told people about the visa, but I don't think really any of them took us up on it. It's like, so I don't know, maybe the visa's bringing in some people, but just not the people I know.
Yeah, I would love to use the visa personally, but you got to get your company to agree with certain things for that, and that's a little more challenging than I'm going to travel there for a few months and then travel back, and then maybe I'll travel there for a few months again and then travel back.
And so your company would need to sign off on the year commitment in order for you to get that digital visa.
Yes, and tax status changes and legal entities, and if I'm a tourist, then it's okay.
Really interesting to hear both of your comments. When the nomad visa came out, I thought, and in fact, I could find a clip on my channel where I said I don't think a lot of people are going to immediately just jump on this, because leaving the country every 3 months is not that big a deal. Mm-hmm. And the digital nomad visa, until I understand it more in depth, really the primary benefit is that you don't have to leave the country. You're here on a permanent or, a year-long status rather than that 3 months. But it's for people who are probably going home professionally once in a while, and people who want to explore Central America anyway, that 3-month departure is really not that big of a deal. So
it's kind of like a woohoo, we get to travel.
Totally.
No, actually, it's a bigger thing to it than leaving every 3 months, though, right? So if I could use this visa, then I could tell the U.S. government that my legal residency is here instead of in Chicago. So I'm still paying Chicago taxes, right? So that's an extra 4.95% in my case. California is another 10 to 13%. So it is much more convenient to have another country's visa program that you're going under instead of a tourist, so that you can set up residency legally. It's from a tax planning perspective.
Very interesting. In the because you can't use the foreign earned income exclusion.
Correct.
Now I get the big difference.
Yes, so that's 113,000 or 120,000 tax write-off right there, right? Yes. In addition to paying state taxes.
Yeah. No, that makes a huge amount of sense. The tax benefits from relocating your tax status in the U.S., I can see that very much. First of all, I applaud you for filing your taxes. Honestly, that's great. I think you're the first person. We should do a program on taxes next week, because we found it, ladies and gentlemen, somebody who's actually paying every dime here. According to some people, you're a sucker, but we won't talk about that. It's, to me, it's really interesting because me moving here 13 years ago was an act of chance. I signed up for Peace Corps, got sent to Costa Rica. Here I am. And I meet all kinds of people who are weighing these decisions. Do you two think that your 52-week of happiness plan might extend, or do you plan to move from Costa Rica at the end of a year and go somewhere else?
That's her call, honestly. Okay, so
I think
a couple of things.
I think a lot depends on whether we get pregnant or not, to be honest. Like, if that were to happen, then we want our baby in community, so we would go back where our people are.
But if I can get another residence, another citizenship for the baby.
Taxes, community for your baby. No, I fully understand. And the reason that we felt we had our children here was because by that time, we felt that this was home and this was where we are. And for many people, Costa Rica will not be that. And if you're out there and you're trying Costa Rica out, or you want to for a year, don't feel bad if you get here and your heart doesn't immediately leap through your throat into Costa Rica and become settled here, because you can't find taco seasoning at the right time when you need your therapy. you can't do a lot of things that would make you feel like you're truly in your home when you need it, when you're going through those culture shock cycles. And guess what? Costa Rica is such a friendly place that they're more than willing to have you live here for a year, try it out, and go home if you decide that it's not the best through their digital nomad program. And that's, they're very welcoming. They have this philosophy that is very much, we want as many people to try Costa Rica as possible, because the ones that decide that they want to live here are going to end up in our tax base and be important, for the long-term future of the country. And everyone else is going to dump their money in the medium, short term. And, Cody, you guys are exactly what Costa Rica wants to see. Mm-hmm. So thank you for dumping your money. Well, more than anything, thanks for giving it a try. And, I think that people looking at moving to Costa Rica, you're talking to people here who are completely in different situations. Tim has relocated, and even though he doesn't like the beach, after 2 years, it seems like you're just fitting in like a clam. Do you have any complaints? I mean, you hate the bureaucracy and the lines, but do you have major complaints that affect your day-to-day life?
Yeah, it's hard to maintain your type A personality in Costa Rica. So yeah, it's like, if you want to go open a bank account and it takes 3 hours, it's like, what? This should be done in 20 minutes, right? And so
getting money into the country.
Yeah, it is a little difficult getting money here. Like we kind of want to do some stuff and just kind of doing that thing and getting it set up so we can send, say, $50K here is turning out to be a very big problem. There's things that are slower. And I guess that's the summary is if you want to keep living your New York City lifestyle here in Tamarindo, probably not going to do it. You might be able to get away with it in San Jose. They might be bustling and going fast there, but definitely not Tamarindo. And so to some extent, I work around it and, breathe deeply and do yoga and whatever I need to do. But it's hard to maintain that type A personality. So if you're a type B personality, then feel free to don't worry about it. But yeah, if you are a New York City dude, you can still try it out. I'm here 2 years and I think it's still working, but yeah, it's a challenge sometimes.
And if you're a Chicago girl and you're not really sure that your life was sustainable and you were burning yourself out, then coming to a place like this where they say pura vida, regardless of the situation, is really quite awesome. So I know I'm learning a lot about how I want to live my life when I go back home.
Yeah, perfect. The biggest priority for me is that people get a better context for how they might approach moving to Costa Rica, and you guys have done a spectacular job of that. So I thank you very much. My connections to Chicago, especially, I'm from Indianapolis, and in addition to that being the city that we sort of vacation to at times, my sister's family has been there now, and it's like you see very clearly the moment you land in Chicago and the orderly, very, there's an energy to people on the street, in the subway, anywhere you are, that people have very deliberate, sort of nervous, I have to get this done and my priorities are here.
Right.
And especially after you spend some time in Costa Rica, you go back to Chicago and you might sort of feel like, what is wrong with
What's everyone worried about? Yeah, right.
I was laughing because when we flew back into Liberia, we commented to each other. As soon as we landed, we're about to walk up to customs, and a little boy goes and opens the emergency exit. And just like, the alarm's going off. Nobody's worried about it. And it's like, oh man, we would have been swarmed with security if anything like that happened in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
It's like, all right, little curious boy wants to see some planes.
Totally. And you see that a million times over. Costa Ricans react to situations where you might see, like in traffic, for example, so many people in Chicago would immediately lay on the horn, scream at somebody for pulling a dumb turn or a lane change or whatever. And really here you notice that people let stuff sort of roll off their backs, just kind of like they accept the craziness of a lot more situations. And like at the airport, an alarm goes off, and instead of that SWAT team level 5, lockdown, you've probably got 6 or 7 people kind of like, looking around and casually thinking about how they're going to handle it because there's so much less of an urgency around life.
I was volunteering at the local colegio in Oaxaca just earlier today, and I was helping a student out, and I made a mistake, and I was like, "Oh, lo siento," and he just kind of looks, and he's like, "Tranquila," and I was like, "Wow, that feels so good." It's
totally.
all right.
Yeah, and that's Costa Ricans do not get upset about mistakes to the degree that Americans do. I was working 3 weeks building a table with somebody once for a computer classroom, and we got done and we put the top on the frame, and the top was like 8 inches too short for the frame. We had done some horrible miscalculation. And the guy looked at it, and I'm in my emotions, having put this much work into a table, I'm ready to just burn down the shop, throw a chair on the ground, and just walk away because I was so unbelievably frustrated. And he literally just looked at it, kind of said, scratched his head and looked at me and said, Mateo, for every problem, there's a solution.
Aww.
We'll take care of this. And it was like, but we just spent 3 weeks on a table and it's not right. How did we miss by 8 inches? We'll just saw this off and, we'll re-nail this together. It was like everything like that you run into in Costa Rica is a lesson to be learned because, we fixed the table. It turned out to hold computers eventually. It took an extra 3 days, but life is not that important or that grave and that really crazy that you need to get as upset about things as some people do.
This will probably be the last thing I say before I have to bounce because I have a work call. But I was really surprised that in conversations, no one cares to know what you do. And that's like a basis of conversation in the States. Like, oh, what do you do? How is your work week? Are you so stressed? Are you so busy? And like, that's like none of that enters the lexicon, it seems like.
Oh, totally.
You surf.
Yeah.
Are you good at surfing?
When do
you want to go surfing? Oh, yeah. Last night. I go salsa on Fridays. Want to go?
Yeah.
There's this brilliance to living in a place where, people don't feel that everything revolves around work. Yet you can be, in your spot here where you're able to productively work as part of the modern, United States economy. I'm super glad you were able to join us tonight. Tim and Analu, thanks very much for joining us as well. Sorry we couldn't talk to you quite as much as Cody and Anya Ray, but I'm always excited to have new guests. We're talking about digital nomads here, people who have come to Costa Rica. Tim and Analu bought a property, took the plunge, are committed. Cody and Anya Ray are really looking at, your best place for where you can have your baby. I'm so excited for you. And as somebody who never thought I was ever going to have, no, absolutely. I couldn't come up with some way to transition between pregnancy. It was kind of, you got to hold your tongue there. You can't say like, go get, but congratulations. I don't think you two should feel pressure to live in any particular place to raise your kids because the world is so connected now. Your family can come see you wherever, but I understand the impulse that if you do have that luck, you should go to the United States because frankly, if we had more access to our grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins for babysitters, we'd probably be having an easier lifestyle as well. So
I put in a lot of deposits that I'm looking to cash in on.
She's babysat a lot.
Oh, that is
Three
perfect.
years, all having kids.
Yeah, they're gonna watch my kids.
Perfect. And that's exactly how you should start to think of your life. As soon as, from conception forward, you're basically just a scheduling coordinator for your kids. So,
Yeah.
start writing up that list of who owes you babysitting time for when you need that date night and everything. It's been spectacular having you all tonight. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts about digital nomad life here in Costa Rica. If anybody watching wants to get in touch with Tim, don't hesitate to write me an email and I'll forward it along. Obviously, he's volunteering his time here for me, but again, much appreciation to the four of you for joining us here to talk about what it's like being digital nomads in Costa Rica.
Thank you for asking. This is fun.
That's right.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This is great.
Yep.